Beetlejuice is one of my favorite films of all time, and in a year filled with exciting epics, blockbusters, and terrific horror, the sequel to a silly 80s cult classic was my most anticipated movie of the year. And now that it's fully released, I gotta say, Tim Burton cooked. Hi, I'm your host Rob, and on this episode of Atomic Vision, I'm going to break down the surprisingly meta double meaning behind Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. But in order to do that, we gotta talk about why it took so long to get the sequel made, and how this problem became the literal plot of the movie.
I'm willing to do the work.
After a string of hits in the 80s, Tim Burton quickly became one of the most sought-after directors in Hollywood because of his original creative style, humor, and over-the-top campiness. But once Burton's newest passion project, Mars Attacks, had flopped in theaters, suddenly filmmaking wasn't fun anymore, and with each failure like Planet of the Apes,
Take your stinking hands off me, you damn dirty human!
Burton would take each flop personally. Because of this reoccurring issue, Burton began to take on projects that were easy paychecks and surefire wins, rather than making movies from a passionate point of view. This ultimately led Burton down a rabbit hole of Flanderizations, where his unique style became a parody of itself. And that's how we got Alice in Wonderland in the 2010s.
I need a pig here.
I love a warm pig belly for my aching feet. Stop that.
It's a film that is visually ugly, starring monotone characters and a dreadful amount of gross CGI. Ultimately, this movie became the unintentional personification of everything fans hate about modern Burton films. Once known for creating original and fantastical worlds, his films felt fake, forced, and worst of all, boring.
Reveal yourself, tiny songstress!
While Burton's passion vanished, his unique art style dead, and the quirky handmade practical effects that made him a household name non-existent, it didn't stop him from creating even worse films. Burton's last movie, Dumbo, was not only another ugly Disney film that lacked a heart and soul, but it cleverly hid subtext that's rooted in Burton's real-life struggles. Despite how it looks, Dumbo 2019 is not about an elephant with big ears escaping the evil clutches of a circus. It's actually about how Tim Burton feels trapped entertaining people with these lifeless remakes, like a caged animal. He even made Michael Keaton play an evil version of Walt Disney with his own parody of Disneyland in the movie. However, things took a turn when Dumbo flopped, and much like the glowing light at the end of the tunnel of life, Burton was ready to call it quits and leaving filmmaking all behind him. Then, COVID happened, and the world froze for an entire year. During lockdown, the series creators of Wednesday contacted Burton and asked if he'd be willing to direct a few episodes of the show, and much like the lightning that brought Frankenweenie back to life, Tim Burton's passion for filmmaking was suddenly reborn. Reimagining the world of the Addams Family was always Tim Burton's ultimate dream project, but no matter how hard he tried, he could never get the film greenlit. So when he was given a chance to direct for Wednesday, the show became Burton's wake-up call and his passion for filmmaking returned. After Wednesday became a smash hit on Netflix, Burton not only felt confident in himself again, but working on the show reminded him of all the fun he used to have making movies back in the 80s. And just like that, an idea was born. I'm not gonna deny that Beetlejuice Beetlejuice isn't just a wacky legacy sequel to an 80s classic, but what I really wasn't anticipating is the autobiographical subtext of Tim Burton's current struggles in the story. Lydia Dietz is and always has been a self-insert character meant to represent Tim Burton. But unlike a lot of self-insert characters that are created for narcissistic purposes, like in an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Hey, how'd you know the trash would be spilled?
How can I say this, Jay? You're not the most meticulous of people.
Burton as Lydia, or as Edward Scissorhands, or Jack Skellington, all come from somewhere genuine and pure. And in this latest film, Lydia's personal journey represents the creative burnout that Tim Burton has felt over the last 20 years. The film begins with us learning that Lydia Dietz has become a reality TV star who investigates all sorts of haunted houses across the country, like a silly parody of Ghost Hunters.
I'm trying to communicate with the spirit of the person who died in this very spot. Can you tell me your name?
I'm the ghost with the most, babe.
Holy crap.
And because Lydia Dietz can literally see ghosts, it makes a ton of sense that she turned her random gift into an actual job. But we also quickly learn that her entire TV show is bullshit. After having a mini panic attack while filming because Lydia believes she saw Beetlejuice randomly in the audience, Lydia hides in the bathroom and has a heart-to-heart conversation with her boyfriend, where we, the audience, learn that Lydia is tired of dealing with ghosts and just wants a normal life instead of making her cheesy Paranormal Activity TV show. To break this all down beyond the campiness at face value, Burton hasn't felt like himself for a while now, and a lot of his recent films feel like poor imitations of what he was previously famous for. With Lydia being a representation of Burton, and her TV show being bullshit, it's all meant to represent how modern-day Tim Burton feels like an imposter. Sure, Lydia has a show where she encounters ghosts in a spooky haunted house, but none of it is authentic, kinda like Burton's past films from the last 20 years. And to me, this symbolizes how Burton has just given up on being creative and is faking it to make a quick and easy buck. This is when we are introduced to Justin Theroux, who plays Rory, Lydia's boyfriend/manager, and I'll be honest, at first his character came across like a modern-day Otho knockoff, but on a rewatch, I got what Burton was actually doing here. Throughout the film, the audience slowly realizes that Rory is a phony con artist who is forcing his way into the Dietz's lives for fame and fortune. Beyond the literal plot, Rory represents all the bad traits that have motivated Burton over the last 20 years because this character is a cartoonish representation of Burton selling out. Rory doesn't believe in ghosts, Rory thinks Halloween is stupid, and Rory is the mastermind behind the TV series that Lydia doesn't even want to make. Every time there's a scene with Rory, it's always about how much of a buzzkill he is. And at one point, both Astrid and Beetlejuice call him out on his bullshit in 2 different scenes. Early on in the film, Astrid sees right through his facade and pokes fun at the fake persona he's trying to sell to everyone. And then Beetlejuice later in the film even calls Rory an enabler who's just riding off the coattails of Lydia's successes. Rory is Burton's kooky way of acknowledging his own Flanderization, and by the end of the story, it's revealed that Rory is the actual villain of the film. In a movie filled with soul-sucking ghosts, a love-struck demon with a heart of pus, and a giant ghost-eating sandworm, the film's actual villain is the same one that nearly ruined Tim Burton's career in real life: greed. Rory is the personification of Burton's laziness and greed, and the death of this character at the end of the film is meant to symbolize Burton letting go of his past mistakes and moving onward into the future. Going back to the story, Lydia gets a call from Delia that her father has died unexpectedly, so Lydia is forced to go back home to Winter River to deal with his passing and to confront all of her previous mistakes in life. Lydia's entire character arc throughout the film runs parallel with Burton's current journey in life because both of them have a case of lost identity. Despite having great gifts, a lack of inspiration over decades has taken a toll on both of them, and rather than fighting on, the two of them just gave up on themselves. When we meet Astrid, we learn that her dad passed away years ago, and since his death, both Lydia and Astrid had drifted apart. While Astrid's story is fairly standard for a legacy sequel where basically she experiences her own version of the original Beetlejuice, the story takes an interesting turn when she reunites with her dead father in the afterlife. Since her dad's death happened so many years ago, it also coincides with the fact that Tim Burton's passion also died years ago too. When Astrid and Lydia reunite with their lost loved one, the scene isn't overly sentimental, but instead, the scene is a reminder of how passion never truly dies. It might have taken decades to get here, but just like the ghost of Astrid's dad, Tim Burton's passion for filmmaking just needed an unconventional reunion because of an old familiar face.
Fucking manifest puss. Never seen that shit before in my life. Or afterlife.
Beetlejuice himself doesn't hold as much meaning since, let's be real, this is just a fun nostalgic throwback to Tim Burton's greatest passion project. But to close out this video, there is a fun connective thread to tie this up all together. Much like the original film, it opens with a throwback song from Burton's childhood, but instead of reusing Day-O during the studio credits, for this film, we hear MacArthur Park from Donna Summer, and this right here is why this film even exists. MacArthur Park isn't just a fun disco song, but much like the film itself, it's a reimagining of a pre-existing song from Richard Harris, which we also hear during the finale. The song itself is about a painful breakup filled with great memories, and in this film, it's played as a joke referring to Beetlejuice's love affair with Lydia and his dead ex-wife, Dolores. But just like this entire video, this song also has a meta double meaning. The original Beetlejuice film is the most impactful project Tim Burton has ever worked on, and in the decades of terrible films he's made since, it really felt like his love affair with filmmaking had come to an end. But thanks to a global pandemic, much like Lydia returning back to Winter River, Burton was able to reassess what he truly wants, and MacArthur Park isn't about Burton's breakup with his inner passion, but rather, it is a breakup with his phoned-in career. Just like Lydia seeing Beetlejuice wherever she goes, Burton's inspirations were always within him, and all he had to do was wake up from his corporate nightmare and embrace his campy side again. Unlike the original film, this newest movie does not end with a traditional happy ending where everyone dances to Harry Belafonte. Instead, it closes with an homage to Carrie that is twisted, funny, and poetic. After defeating Rory, Dolores, and Beetlejuice himself, Lydia takes back her life and quits her TV show, leaving her past mistakes behind for good. She then goes out to enjoy life, watches her daughter get married, and then waits in the hospital as Astrid gives birth to a baby. But in what is probably the silliest and craziest scene in the entire film, Astrid in actuality gives birth to evil baby Beetlejuice, who then kills all of the doctors and nurses in the room. It is then revealed to be a dream, and just as the film is about to close, Beetlejuice reappears one last time to remind Lydia that he will never go away. Whether Tim Burton continues to direct films is one thing, but the ending tells me that no matter what happens, his passion, much like Beetlejuice, can never truly die.
That is why I won't do 2 shows a night anymore, babe. I won't do.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode of Atomic Vision, leave a like, subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time. Just remember, folks, when in doubt, you gotta keep it real.
Blonde's name, Bitter Butter Beetlejuice?
Don't you usually wear the stripy turquoise Beetlejuice numbers?
There's nothing in your playlist but Spooky Party, the Beetlejuice soundtrack, and NPR podcast.